In my campaign, I had no Republican opponent. I had a Democratic incumbent and myself. That was it. So I wanted to reach out to the Republican voters in my district. So I used the voter list, separated them out by party, got the Republicans based on the primary voting records, and sent this postcard to about all of the Republicans in the district. It's very simple. It says, wanted Republican voters, now is the time to come to the aid of your state. And it goes on and says, you know, that they chose not to run a candidate, that if you vote the straight ticket, you might as well be voting for the Democratic candidate because there's no Republican. So vote for me, and you're not voting for that Democrat if you don't like that Democrat.
Ed, what was your timing on that?
The timing on that was about a month before the, came out about a month before the election.
You think anybody was awake and knew there was an election going on at that point?
Yeah, I think, I would imagine this probably got me at least 1,000 votes. As a matter of fact, even a couple of the Republican precinct committeemen said they loved this thing. So I got kudos from them. Last but not least, phone calls. Volunteers are a must for this. And phone calls are going to work best in the final stages of the campaign, because you want it, this is the push to election time. You want to have a script for the callers to use. You don't want anybody freelancing out there. You want your message to go across, not some semblance of your message. And you're going to want volunteers. Volunteers are the most important part of your campaign. They can assist you with all of the little details. Getting volunteers can be difficult, but they're very worth it. If they volunteer, it means they want to work, use them. And always be looking to gain more. Source for volunteers, your county party, state party. Chris gets people volunteer to him. He'll send the information along to you. Your key volunteers, though, are your campaign manager, your treasurer, and a volunteer coordinator. You don't really have time to do it. If you get a lot of volunteers, you don't really have time to deal with it yourself. You're out there going door to door, you're knocking on doors, you're raising money, you're doing all the things that a candidate should be doing. You don't have time to coordinate the volunteer activities. So what you need is one of the volunteers to be a volunteer coordinator, that you can relay to that person, or your campaign manager can relay to that person what needs to be done. They'll assign the people and get it done. So that takes us to the end of this segment. Now is ready for questions and answers.
Ed?
Yes.
How intimidating is it to go door to door, and how do you get over that?
At first, it's a little intimidating. The easiest way to get over that is just to go out and do it. By the time you've knocked on 4 or 5 doors, you start to get in a groove, and you just keep going, you just keep moving.
Does it help to have people with you?
It does help to have people with you, because one of the things you're going to want to take with you when you go out is you want to take your campaign materials. If you have yard signs, you want to take some of those, you want to have those available too, because if the person says, yeah, I like what you're saying, you know, and say, well, can I put a yard sign in your yard? Sure. You want to have the yard sign to put up in the yard then, before they change their mind. So you don't want to have to come back and do it later. So having a volunteer that, you know, has a couple of these things with them is very good. Very good to have. The other thing too is, in volunteers and going door to door, is you can use them, you can hit a precinct in force on one day. That's something else good to do. Just, you go out and you just go street by street. You know, everybody goes, you pair up, you know, hit one of these, you know, hit the houses in row, you leapfrog over each other. You get down to the end of the street, there's the car, you know, the campaign wagon is there. You replenish your materials, get water, whatever you need, replenish yourself, and you keep moving. One of the things you need to do when you're on the stump, when you're out there canvassing, is make sure you have water available, something like trail mix or something, because it's very important to keep, you know, hydrated and fed, keep your blood sugar up. The other thing I would recommend too, prior to starting any campaign like this, is if you're not comfortable walking for 2 hours, get comfortable walking for 2 hours. Start doing it. Work your way up to it then.
You literally, you lost a lot of weight on the campaign trail. And
I lost some weight in the campaign trail. I lost, like I said, 2 pairs of shoes. My time that election morning came, I could barely walk. I was at the polls walking around like Frankenstein that morning because I couldn't bend my knees. But I was out there. I took painkillers and gritted it through.
How many doors did you think you knocked on?
God, not enough, but you know, I didn't get, unfortunately, to everyone like you said, to all of them. I would have liked to have gotten to more, but you know, working for a living and campaigning don't really go well together. And as the season got later, the hours after work, the daylight hours got shorter, and you don't go around at night. People are going to think,
well, it's October 2009 as we're filming this, which means we have about a year until October 2010.
Right.
And Ryan Leakey's going to talk more about October, because October is your most important month in any campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But what kind of timeline would you put to some of this stuff? Like how soon, I mean, it's October, we have a year until the next election. When would you start doing some of this, fundraising, putting together some
Fundraising,
stuff?
you can start, if you know you're going to be a candidate, you filed at least your exploratory committee, do it now. Start now. Start raising money now. The money you raise now will multiply and become more money later. You can use that money also to help make more money. One of the things I did during my campaign was I had a campaign event at one of the Indians games. I had it used as a fundraiser. We had a picnic. We did the picnic, we did the game, and I used some of the money I had to pay the deposits, and then they got the money collected from the sale of the tickets and such to the fundraiser to pay that back in plus more. So it worked out very nicely. Plus I got my name on the scoreboard. So it also was like some advertising too.
What about some of the walking maps and the precinct maps, and then actually going out and getting your teams knocking on doors?
Yeah.
When would you start? Would you start that now? A year?
Not now. I would start that the day after the primary, next May. Go out. Matter of fact, what I would do is if you have people out there next May during the primary, is as the voters are coming out of the poll in your precincts, hand them a card. Let them know that you're running, that regardless of what happened in that primary election, you're a candidate now. And these are what your issues are. You start hitting them then.
What about what are the best days for walking and canvassing? I mean, is it weeknights? Is it Saturdays? Is it any day?
It varies. It varies greatly. Weekends can be iffy. But that's when you've got the most time because people are either home or they're not. A lot of people are home on the weekends, but then again, a lot of people go out and do things on the weekends. So just try to hit as much as you can. If you can't get everything done on the weekend, you miss a few houses, go back maybe on a weeknight and hit those houses.
And probably before it gets dark.
And before it gets dark.
Once it's dark, it's...
Yeah, no one wants to open their door when it's dark,
Right.
Especially in Marion County. Yes?
And I have one more thing to add. Some of the books I read about going door to door also mentioned that it's a good idea to go as a couple, a man and a woman. Because sometimes that looks a little less threatening or intimidating. So like if you're gonna knock on a single woman's door, for instance, maybe if you're a single guy, that she's not going to answer, but
right.
Maybe she'll answer if she sees a couple there instead.
Yeah, that would be.
I'm trying to use that when I go.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. But like I said, if you do what you can do, what you've got.